lot of times when children go to their friends, they've heard about sex, there are a lot of times they're misguided. They make wrong decisions, especially. You can't teach what you don't know, you can't leave where you don't go. So, that's how I feel about it.
Right.
Absolutely. It is absolutely right. As a mother as a single parent to a male child, it was always important to me from the onset that we had open and honest conversations. And as awkward as it was for me sometimes as a woman, I got some hard conversations and stuff like 9-year-old son saying, "Mom, when am I going to have sex with a girl?" But for me, it was important that I would have the same conversation with my son that I would have had it with my daughter. That you have to wait. You have to wait for the right person. It's important because there's a whole other element that's involved with that. Sex is not love. As good as it might feel, it is not love. So yes, absolutely, it's important that talk comes from a parent, because as much as sometimes children pretend not to want to be bothered by their parents, children want to be told what to do and what's right and wrong from their parents.
And it's really good that, once that question comes up, you really at that point as a parent, you have to let them know. You got to let them live. Don't tell them.
That's right.
I guarantee you, not only will they not know, but they're going to find out.
Yes.
It just won't be from mom or dad.
That's right.
But they'll go find out something. Like I said, we got the technology age now, internet, books, everything that are out there, or going to somebody else's house and finding out. So, what do you know about this man? How do you do this?
And it's the wrong
and that's what they're going to do. They're going to go to the friends. They're going to go to the peers, whether they know or not. But it's going to be the incorrect information that they're going to get, and that's what you don't want. But at least instead of learning in the streets, they learn from home, and that's the right way from the parents.
The right way.
So they teaching abstinence and waiting to the right age, the right person.
That's right.
For that right relationship.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of time, but again, the important thing is key to communication.
It really is honest communication. This whole nonsense about giving children's sexual parts these fictitious names.
Right.
I'm a proponent of tell them that it's your vagina and that's your penis.
Right.
And if somebody touches you in that place other than, then you need to be able to talk to me about that. Reassuring them from the front. Sometimes even before anything happens that it's not your fault, but if somebody does that to you, I need to know so that I can protect you. So you begin to build that confidence up in them from a very early age that it is not taboo to talk about. Right. It is something that happens.
So you'll break that cycle.
Yes.
And that's the thing. You gotta break the cycle before it can happen again.
That's right.
With your numbers.
That's right. And the only way you can do that is to talk about it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Miss Jackie, I certainly enjoyed our talk.
Oh, the pleasure's been all mine.
It's been wonderful to have you, to have met you, and it's just I don't say things are just by chance when you meet someone.
It's really
God has a divine purpose when He put people together. So there's a reason when I came up to your place of employment that we met and we started the communication. Although you are the big B and I'm from the big S.
B-side for life now.
And we're Sumner, the Bulldog.
That's right.
You take the shot.
Don't make me set it off up in here.
Good, but you know what? We still have nothing but love for one another.
That's right.
And what we would like to do, I end of the show, we're gonna put some information up about how they can get a hold of you. So we want you to come out and speak or kind of tell your story, and then also some help, for women, for men, sexual abuse, battered women, molestation, all of that. Because someone watching, maybe going through the same thing, but just need, someone to reach out to, don't know where. So we're going to post that information, at the bottom of the screen on our credit list and everything, so someone can get some help. And it's interesting enough that we had you on the show today. We also have another great dynamic, author coming on, this Allysha Hamber. She's going to be, and understand that you know each other, good friends, so you kind of have almost similar stories.
Yes.
So it's amazing that when you talked about what you talked about when I was reading her bio and everything, it's just wow, the similarity. So again, meeting you
Okay.
When I told you about Allysha, it's just interesting. Again, all God's divine purpose.
Yes.
Bringing both of you together today, to be, guest authors on the show. We've had other authors on the show as well, but this is very unique and a pleasure. Two women, almost similar backgrounds, but not specifically, but poets, writers and everything. So, God has great things in store for you. I do believe that. So again, it's been a pleasure and a delight to sit and converse with you
All right.
about your life and story.
So ladies, just remember to keep your cookie fresh and know that you cannot sit your pocketbook just anywhere.
And you heard that from none other than Miss Jacqueline Ewing, book author, and she's working on. But before we close out, I'm just gonna rewind for a second. You have a third book coming out, right?
I do.
Yeah. What's that third book?
The third book is entitled "What My Mother Was Holding."
Okay.
What my mother was holding, and it just talks about how it is important to know something, not just about your own self, but when we can talk to our parents to learn something about them and what was in their past, and how that affects us in our own lives. Because for me, there had to be a lot of things that my mother was holding, even at her death, that I didn't know about, but how much greater and richer could that relationship have been had I known exactly what it was that she was holding.
Any idea time frame when that book will be released?
I'm going to say by spring of next year.
And just so you know, Miss Ewing is a self-published author as well. So that's even more astounding. And so a lot of people are doing a lot of self-publishing these days. So my hats off to you. I commend you for doing that and taking the step to go forward and helping others out to share your story. To share your testimony, and our prayer and desire is that someone will be helped and touched, by watching this interview. Again, we're on YouTube, so from around the world, so you can see the story. It's not just here in the United States, but it's all over the world. These things kind of things happen. So thank you again for being part of Straight Talks with Roger Hunt.
Thank you both. I'm excited about the book.
And looking forward to building a great networking relationship as well.
Yes.
Okay. So when we come back, we're going to have none other than another great author and playwright, Miss Allysha Hamber, who's going to be joining us today as well on this very same set. We'll see you in a minute. Today has been an exciting day. So far, we've had one dynamic author, Miss Jacqueline Ewing. She talked about keep your cookie fresh and let the words of my mouth. Jamel has been a great, co-host with me on this great day here that we're doing this final episode of Straight Talk with Roger Hunt. How do you feel so far?
I just love everything about it. Just hearing their voice and my voice, just connecting and just making a story within it. I love that.
And so for you, those of you at home, we just want you to know we have another exciting author by the name of Miss Allysha Hamber coming forth with another dynamic story, some great books that she's written, and you're going to hear her testimony and some things that she's gone through. And not only she's going to be doing things here in St. Louis, but she's also got something great planned for the city of Atlanta, working with a great production person down there. We'll hear more from Miss Allysha Hamber coming up after these messages. We're back with none other than the great dynamic Miss Allysha Hamber, another exciting author here out of St. Louis, Missouri, who's doing some exciting things across this great nation of ours. And right now we're going to pick her brain. Before I get to Miss Allysha, we also have our co-host for today, Mr. Mel Keys. Welcome to the show. And Miss Hamber, welcome to the show as well. Thank you for taking this opportunity to be with us on this great day, as always, when we wake up this morning. I love your post, by the way, just so you know that.
Oh, thank you.
Very inspiring as your books that you write and all the other great things that you do for us. Tell us something about yourself.
Oh, let's see. Well, as an author, I have pretty much tried to put into my writing my experiences in life.
Okay.
I always feel like you cannot tell a story that you have not been through. So my books are pretty much, some of them are semi-autobiographies, and then some of them are just people I've known over my life, but a lot of them have an underlying meaning to them, and a lot of them are about forgiveness you know, the goodness of God. But before you can get to the goodness of God, you've got to give them the nitty gritty of where you come from in order for them to understand the level of praise you have in your heart right now today.
Okay. So being the author that you are, how many books have you published thus far?
9.
9 books.
Working on number 10.
Working on number 10. Wow. And how long has it taken you to get these books? Did you start?
I actually started writing when I was doing my federal prison sentence.
Oh.
And I went to prison in 1999, and when I went to prison, I was lost, like so totally just lost. I had no hope. When the judge slammed the gavel and said 10 years, I looked at him like, you must be crazy. You cannot be talking to me. Because I knew, well, I felt at the time I was not going to survive 10 years of prison. Not spiritually, not mentally, not physically. So actually, when I got to prison and I actually tried to commit suicide the day they sentenced me, and did not do a good job at that because I'm still sitting here. But
there was a reason.
There was a reason.
Yeah, that it didn't happen.
And that's right. That's right. And in the process of that, when I went to prison, I knew about God. I was raised in church, but I was at that moment where I thought God didn't care anything about me. So while I was in prison, you know, and I was going through a lot of counseling and abuse therapy, then I started to also make a spiritual connection with those around me. I started to praise dance. I started to sing in the choir, but most importantly, I started to read the Word daily. And I found so many pieces of myself in the Word, which drew me closer to the Word, which opened me up. Because when people say I found God, God was never lost. He was already there.
Right.
But
Amen.
I had to open up to receive him and everything that he had for me. And once I did that, I started writing like small plays for the inmates to put on. And of course, they all kind of dealt with abuse because that's all I knew at the time. And then one of my inmates was like, you know what, you ought to write a book. And I just kind of shrugged it off. And then I took up the challenge just to see if I could do it. And so I started writing, but of course, when you're in the penal system, you cannot conduct business. So I couldn't do anything with that first book until I came home.
Right.
2005, I got with Brenda Hampton, who's also another St. Louis author, wonderful woman. She released my first book under her publishing label, and it just kind of rolled from there.
So from there, I understand one of your books, Unlovable and Unlovable 1, 2, and 3. Kind of tell us something about that series there.
Unlovable is a series about a young girl. Her name is Dream, and I named her Dream because I'm a dreamer. I even though when I always believed in love, happiness, a family with the white picket fence and a dog, a mommy and a daddy. Well, even though my dad died when I was 7, and my mother's boyfriend at 9 started molesting me. So he started having sex with me when I was 9. So Dream's story kind of picks up there. And Dream is also a 16-year-old prostitute, which is also my life. I left home when I was 15 because I felt like no matter what was going on in the streets, it could be no worse than I felt was supposed to be a safe haven for me at home. So when I got out on the streets, I met a young lady who took me to her house, said I could stay with them, and this is after being out on the streets for at least a week or 2. So then she took me to her home and did not tell me her brother was her pimp. He was prostituting out his sister, who was 16, just like me. So for days, he fed me. He took her to take me shopping, and I thought that these people were like genuinely, like really there to help me. But then he took us to the corner of Washington and Sarah, and he told us that we had to sell our bodies for him. Well, she was already doing it. Me, I'm defiant because I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And when he became so physically violent with me, that began my journey of being a prostitute in St. Louis. So Dream's story is my childhood, so to speak. Once I got that out, now I have to turn into an author. Once you write out the pain, now I've got to turn into an author and build a whole story surrounding her. So that's kind of what part 1, 2, and 3 is. It deals with the forgiveness and unforgiveness of her mother, the hope that she'll find a love even though she's been through what she's been through. Can someone really ever even love her? You know, I could walk around St. Louis right now and if a man looks at me too long sometimes, I'm still wondering, does that man remember me from where I used to be? Could I ever even know that? You know what I mean? So it is hard to imagine someone that can come into your life and love you in spite of everywhere you've been, but I have a firm faith that he is out there, and I wish he'd hurry up, because I just posted I'm tired of cleaning this house by myself yesterday. So if he's out there, I want him to come on. I got some trash for him to take out, but I believe it's going to happen.
And when you talk about posts, you're talking about on your Facebook page, of course.
I stay on Facebook.
You know, with that and hearing your story, you know, one of the reasons that we do this show is that it helps someone through the lives of other people, because a lot of times we know there's a lot of people out there watching have gone through the similar things or are dealing with some of the same things as we speak. So to tell your story, to let them know, him or her, that there is hope, there's a chance to overcome, and there's a chance to rise above all that which has been taken away from you. You know, so Jamel, you know, tell us, you know, I'm gonna let Jamel talk to you for a minute here. So he got something for you, I know.
Like, there's always hope, you know. A lot of times people, they don't know that something's out there. So you write books to let them know that this is real. This is real. I love that. So what is your message you're trying to send to people?
When I was out there in the streets, you know, we were raised, most generational people my age, that what goes on in our house stays in our house. You don't tell people my business, and you're definitely not going to get the white folks systematic with people in my house, in my business. So, and we were raised thinking that, you know, counseling and things like that, that wasn't for us normal, average black people. So I did not know. I'm sure there were resources out there, but I didn't know them because I was taught to keep everything inward. You just keep it to yourself. So what I'm trying to do is, we have so many people that sweeps things under the rugs. Boy, if you lift the carpet in some of our houses, it's all kind of things sitting up under there because you done swept it and covered it up and think that it's going to go away. It's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. There are after effects, just like an earthquake. It can come in your life, it can shake you up and tear some things down, and you can put those things back up on the wall, but then here comes an aftershock or a tremor that's going to knock it back down. If you don't deal with it, it's going to show up in other areas of your life. Mine showed up in raising my children. I can't go to the extent to say I was a horrible mother. I was a mother that did not know how to be a mother. I knew my job was to protect them from everybody else so nobody else could hurt them. But who was going to protect them from me? I didn't know how to say I love you. I didn't know how to say you were a good child, or what you did a good job. I knew how to yell, scream, and hit. That's what I was taught. Yell, scream, hit, and that's what I reflected back up on them. And so it comes out in other ways, whether it's your family, your children, your relationships, your job. If you don't deal with that underlying problem, I always talk about dressing those wounds. Those wounds, you can leave it alone and the scab's going to grow over it. But if you do not properly take care of those wounds, underneath that scab is some infection. It's never going to heal correctly. So I feel like I can be transparent for these girls because I've done what I've done. I've been where I've been. And I don't care if you know it or not, because that's who I am. Worry about who I've been is on you. Worry about where I'm going, that's on me. So I have a problem being transparent, because if I can help you, that's my purpose. That's my destiny. That's where I'm supposed to be.
Right. So let me ask you this. Going through all of that you went through and dealing with, you know, the prostitution, the abuse, the notion of not being loved, not how to love back your kids. Because sometimes what happened, I guess, the cycle, it repeats itself. Because since you wasn't shown that, you didn't know, you really didn't know. So from there as a young adolescent to an adult woman and then going into the prison system, how did that happen?
Lord. I went to prison for assault. Anger. I used to be a girl that when I was out there on the streets, this is what's so funny about abuse. I would fight a man. Or I would try my best to fight a man because he's bigger, he's weaker, but of course I'm intimidated. A woman, you could not stand a chance to fight for me because I used to be a girl walking around with a razor blade under my tongue or my anger. I was so full of rage because I couldn't fight back the people who had actually hurt me. Because I was too young to fight him off, I was too young to fight the other ones off, and I was too young and too weak to fight off the one that had me out there giving my body away in the first place. So I was angry, and it's like the smallest thing. I could try my best to say, I'm not mad, I want to be happy, but then the smallest flicker could set me off. And then I'd be angry at myself for letting it set me off, but I didn't know how to control it. So I don't know how to find the balance of it's okay to be upset, but it's not okay to act out on it. And so when I went to prison, you know, they would sit me down in front of these male psychiatrists that would try to talk to me about being molested. Right. And I'm angry and I'm looking at you and I want to spit in your face because you represent what happened. You're an authority over me. You're representing what happened to me. And so it wasn't until I got to go to the women's prison abuse groups. And I wouldn't say anything, I just sit there, but then I started to listen to other women's stories. And when you go through that, you think you're by yourself. I'm all alone. Nobody can understand this. Nobody will feel what I feel because they weren't there. But you sit down and you realize that somebody else has walked this path before you. Mm-hmm. And once I began to do that, then I began to slowly open up and I began to listen to them and I began to let them minister to how they got through, which helped me to in turn try to get through. So.
Wow. So you've gone through all of this, abuse, molestation, prostitution, prison, once you got out of prison, and why, I guess why you were in the transformation of becoming someone else different, because certainly I can only imagine, not that I'm in your position, that dealing with what you dealt with, to be hard, psychologically. You know, I had one of the other episodes that we had a psychologist on the show, you know, talking about certain things you never, you know a person's, you know, shoes unless you've been through where they've gone, that journey that they've been through. So in your journey, getting out of prison and deciding to make a difference, and that what you have done made a difference. Tell us about some of the positive things that you're doing that's going on now in your life.
I have to first say I've been blessed. I've been blessed beyond belief. And I need people to understand that it so does not matter where you come from in life. Jesus never came and sat with the uppity church folks. Jesus went down to the lowest of the low, and those are the ones he brought forth because that's how he showed his power. So to that I say, I'm just trying to go day by day and touch someone's life day by day. So my books are one part of me. Okay. Mentoring is another part of me. Doing motivational speaking is what I would probably love to do the most because a lot of our people don't pick up books and read. So the story can't quite get out that way totally. So I love the part of being able to come and, like your show, I love to be able to tell it and to talk about it, because if you pursue every avenue that's available to you, then you have a better chance of reaching who it is you're trying to reach. I have been blessed to hook up with wonderful ladies, my manager Melanie, and I just, who are putting together a platform for women, not just myself, but other women who have gone through it, where we can just go out and be a part of the community. You got to draw these younger people in because we are losing them at alarming rates. Yes. And so if I had an opportunity to run off right now and go make $1 million movie versus stay right here in the jungle and continue to do what I do and try my best to reach as many of these young girls as I can, that movie can go. Right. This is where my calling is. This is where my destiny is. And so I'm trying my best to just continue to think of ways, creative ways that I can just continue to reach those who it is that God wants me to reach. So that's more writing, that's more stage plays, that's more motivational speaking, that's more, I'm trying to, I'm working on a TV pilot right now.
Tell us about that.
That is
really exciting. Tell us about
working on a TV pilot that I am hoping Tyler Perry and Tyler Perry Studios will pick up. And it is to the best that I can tell you, it's like a 30-minute TV pilot where I have 5 families that all live on one block. It's the neighborhood block, but they're all going through 5 different situations, and they all kind of intertwine with one another. And I'm just trying to, I'm excited, I'm overly excited about that. But again, Roger, I'm gonna tell you, that compares nothing to what I feel when I get through with these speeches and the young girls come up to me and say, how did you know I was feeling like that? Or can I call you? Can I have your number? That's where it's at for me. That's where it's at.
For those to reach out and want to receive help, that's more important because unless they ask for it, you know, a lot of times like I said, they're afraid to come to somewhere or they're not going to be looked down upon, or be felt they be made ashamed of. And that's exciting, you know, even with doing the gospel pilot, you know, we're going to pray that takes off without a hitch and still yet be able to do the multiple things, not only here in St. Louis, but at TPS Studios down in Atlanta. Should and when that happens, I'll just go ahead and lay it for you.
That's right.
Should and when that happens for you, not only I'm sure that the people that you reach out to will be blessed richly by what is, you know, brought forth, but then also the people not just there, but also the people around the country and those who view it and watch it. So again, there's a story definitely to be told. There's a message to be, you know, sent out. The fact that you have Jesus in your life, your spirituality that keeps you going steadfast and unmovable. It speaks volumes. Because some people, like you said, you know, wanted to commit suicide. You hung in there because God wasn't done with you yet. And just imagine a lot of our young entrepreneurs that come forth, or young writers, young engineers, that so many times they give up on life because they don't have anyone to turn to, or they think the life is hopeless or endless. So you stood the ground, you stood the test, the challenges that were before you. And sometimes the enemy, you know, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, which is very, you know, in your situation could have very well happened. But you held your ground.
Tried. You know, my children, I was away from them. My baby girl, she was 2 when I went to prison. She was 13 or 14 when I came home. That's a lot of life that was gone. And you know what? God will sit back and he'll show you, as the song, take you back down memory lane. And at the time when I thought it was so much pain to be away from my kids, and I thought there was no greater pain in the world, my husband at the time was actually deployed. He was gone to war, and my kids could have easily been split up into 3 separate foster homes. But at the time, you think it's so much pain that another woman's raising their children. And now that I've grown in my spiritual walk, and I understand that even then God was looking out for me because they were able to stay together. Someone had them, didn't mistreat them. I don't care if it was wife number 2. He watched over my children. So what Satan tried to do, and he'll do it to each and every one of us, is the gifts that God has put inside of you. He'll attack you with those same gifts. He's going to come after those gifts because those gifts are going to help save somebody else. So with that being said, God is a God of restoration.
Amen.
Everything he tries to steal for you, he'll give you back 10 times more. My children or my world now, our relationship is unimaginable. I can pick up the phone and they can say, hey baby, I love you. That's something, it's unexplainable to me to hear them say it and for me to be able to say it back. so freeing and so giving. And so he is such a God of restoration. And my advice to any woman, any man, because any child, period, that is experiencing any form of abuse, whether it's mental, verbal, physical, sexual, whatever, it's time to stop being quiet.
Yeah.
It's time. I don't do this to hurt my mother. I don't do this to hurt any of the rest of them. I do this for my healing and to help somebody else heal. You can't worry about what they gonna say about what you're talking about. You got to do what God put you here to do.
So, with you mentioned mom, and how's the support from the family through all of this? And now that you're at this point, you're at another point in your life, another chapter in your life. How's the family support with all of this?
Let me just say this. I love my family. I stopped growing up with my family at 15. So sometimes we can have a family gather and I still feel like the elephant in the room.
Okay.
I still feel disconnected. And I have to accept that because they continued to grow together. I didn't. I was away. Me and my mother, I love my mother dearly. We don't talk. I don't think I've seen her in the last 2 years. Pray for her daily. Will never want to see any hurt or harm come to my mother. We will disagree on this subject probably for the rest of our lives. And that's part of the painful part of it because, like you said, it's a generational curse. Somebody's got to break it. Somebody has to break it. And so if that somebody chooses to be me or my children below me, it doesn't matter. Somebody has to do it. My sisters and brothers, I love them. We have our differences, just as with every family, but they sometimes feel like I share too much of our lives because, of course, in some way it affects them. But again, I cannot worry about that. I cannot.
Yeah, it is always good to share. And like a lot of times, people just get afraid to just seek that help because they think they're going to be put down on. But God has really shaped you in a way that you can really help somebody and use your voice to help them grow. So your books, your plays, your pilot, you're finna do because you know God is always in your life. And all of that, I really believe that everything that you've been through, you're going to potentially grow into will help a lot of people.
That is my hope. That is my prayer. It is my prayer. It makes everything you go through. Somebody just told me at the Food for Soul conference we were at last week, your story is not for you. It's to bless somebody else. So when you go through your trials and your storms and your tribulations, you got to understand He's going to bring you through on the other side, but not for you. It's for you to help the next ones that are coming along. That is my goal. That is my dream. That is my destiny.
Well, Ms. Hamber, thank you so much. On behalf of Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Unscripted, I certainly appreciate it.
Appreciate
you being here and with my co-host Jamel Keys. It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to working with you on some.
That's right.
With TPS. We got some things. We both got some things going on. So, and I won't tell too much about what I'm doing either. So we'll say that for now.
Well, I look forward to working with you on that.
Right, and one other thing, Jamel being a co-host with me. Not to worry, you get the co-host with me.
Okay, all right, yeah, Jamel, don't take all my shit.
We're going to have this Hamber as a co-host on my show. Actually, this is wrapping up on season. This is the finale for the show. And so I really appreciate having you as the last guest of our show for this year, 2014. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for showing your love.
You know what? This has been a great year for Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Unscripted. I really do appreciate all of you out there in internet world watching on YouTube and from your home, from your businesses, from your leisure time in a cafe or wherever you may have been watching us from. I've certainly enjoyed, bringing Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Unscripted to you. I pray, it is my prayer and hope that you have learned something from the various guests that we have had on our show. And prayerfully, we will definitely see you for season number 2. If not here on YouTube, the internet, we will see you on a network around somewhere in this country. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you. God bless you. This has been Roger Hunt, your host for Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted.